Let's move along to Rishi Sunak, hoping that Jeremy Hunt's budget measures, including freezing fuel duty for another year, freezing alcohol duty, overhauling the child benefits system, is all that going to save the Tories at the polls, Darren? You're going to election later in the year. Is this going to be enough?
It absolutely isn't, Rita. I mean, the Prime Minister had a perfect opportunity to cover some of the themes that we've been discussing right now. Labour Party politicians seem far more interested, Rita, in talking about Gaza than they do Britain. And Rishi Sunak had an ideal opportunity at this budget to actually present an opposition to that, an alternative vision. And he just simply hasn't done that. In fact, we just announced 1 million quid in that budget for a Muslim memorial, a war memorial. I don't know why we need individual religions to now have memorials. The fact of the matter was we were either Commonwealth nations or British nations. But look, this will not save the Tories. We are at snail's pace growth. We haven't taken robust measures. Dare I say, Liz Truss will be laughing all the way to the bank. She's very popular in America right now. That's our former Prime Minister. She said, actually, we needed radical reform in this country. Rishi Sunak seems to be going along. The Labour Party and the Conservative Party, if I can put it bluntly, and I know you Aussies pretty much love a blunt approach to things, and there is no doubt in my mind right now that the Labour Party in this country and the Conservative Party in this country are two cheeks of the same behind, right? You are voting for the same platform, the same prospectus. They're offering exactly the same thing, which is low growth, low aspiration, and basically allowing rampant migration, mass migration to this country to be utterly used and utterly abused. We need strong leaders like never before. I know you're a big Maggie fan, Rita. We need Margaret Thatcher back. If I could raise her from the dead, I'm hoping Elon Musk is going to come up with some new form of technology because I'm desperate, Rita. We're in desperate straits. This is a civilizational moment that we're facing in this country. And yet all we can talk about is cutting 2 pence off of national insurance in this country. It's just absurd. I feel like pulling my hair out, and there's not much of it there to begin with.
Now, I saw Home Secretary Suella Braverman, former Home Secretary, she's come out and been quite critical of this budget. She said, like you, that this small cut is not enough. You need to incentivise work. Our tax system disincentivises work, she said. It could have been fixed today, and she had all sorts of measures she was proposing there. She's becoming more and more prominent along with Liz Truss, despite their demotion. I wonder if they're setting themselves up for a leadership challenge before the next election. That's going to be fascinating to watch. Now, before you go, I've got to ask you about this story. A Las Vegas dominatrix who claimed she kissed a 27-year-old Prince Harry on one of his many infamous trips to Las Vegas. We'll remember the pictures from that trip. Well, she's now been banned from OnlyFans after teasing she had never before seen pics of the prince in the buff from their night together. I don't even know where to go with this story. What do you make of this bizarre tale, Darren?
Well, do you know what? I never thought I'd say it, Rita, but actually OnlyFans must be pretty altruistic because I imagine they'd get a hell of a lot of money and subscribers out of the release of that photograph. But perhaps they know that Prince Harry himself is incredibly litigious and they'd be suffering the hands of his Californian lawyers. But look, I don't think the world wants to see that right now. We've seen him pretty much in the buff, to be honest, because there were photographs released in the past. The Sun had those photographs here in Britain, released those. They were all over the internet in 2012. I don't think the world wants to see them these days, but do you know what? It's a reminder that everyone has a past and everyone's made mistakes. And perhaps this virtue signalling clown ought to look back at his past and remember that no one's perfect. And this idea, this vision of the world that he now has from his Californian mansion simply doesn't exist. You know, I fear for this woman. You know, perhaps if she's not too careful and she does release them on the internet, who knows what's going to come for her, because his work's drying up, Rita.
Yes, and he does love a legal battle, so he could perhaps launch one against her. But I would love to hear his excuses because, yes, he was a young man, but he wasn't a teenager. We're talking someone who was in their late 20s at this point. But I don't know, does he blame white privilege? Does he blame the palace for the climate of, I don't know, toxic masculinity that was created that led him to do this? That in itself would be quite interesting. Darren Grimes, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thanks, Rita.